Welcome to Blender add-on development for beginners. In this module, we are going to create an add-on that will skin an armature. Let me show you what I mean. Say we have an armature with any number of bones. Here we have one with just 3, but any armature should work with any number of bones. Now the idea is to generate a mesh like we show here. It looks like a tube and follows the armature exactly. And when we pose the armature, the mesh follows. If we look at the mesh object, we see that it has a few modifiers. A skin modifier to generate the outer shape from the edges in the mesh. An armature modifier that deforms the mesh based on the armature object. And a subdivision modifier to create a smoother final surface. If we disable each of the modifiers and also hide the armature itself for a moment, we can get a better look at the mesh. When we change to edit mode, we see that it is just a couple of vertices with edges that connect them. With the vertices in the exact positions of the heads and tails of the bones and an edge for each bone itself. Now how would you create such a mesh? Let's delete the mesh and recreate it quickly from scratch. We position the cursor at the origin of the armature and then select Add Mesh Single Vertex. We then make sure we are in vertex selection mode and extrude 3 vertices, roughly positioning them near the bone ends. Now we have to make sure the vertices coincide exactly with the bone ends. So we select the tip of the bone, snap the cursor to it, change back to the mesh to select the corresponding vertex and snap it to the cursor. We then repeat these steps for the second vertex. And finally for the third vertex. The last vertex is already in the right spot, so that saves some time, but the whole process is super tedious. So imagine doing this for an armature with 30 bones or so. With all the vertices in place, we can now focus on the modifiers. First we add a skin modifier. That looks awful because we need to reduce the skin radius of all the vertices. So we select all vertices with A and then press Ctrl A and reduce the skin radius until we get a decent mesh. Then with the skin modifier in place, we can then add the armature modifier. It's a deform modifier and we should configure it. Not just the armature, but we should also select how to bind the mesh, or in other words, configure which bone deforms which part of the mesh. Now configuring individual vertex groups is tedious, and using bone envelopes does not give always a good result. Luckily there is a better solution. Let's remove the modifier again and make sure we first select the mesh and then the armature to make it the active object. We can then right-click the armature and select Parent, Armature Deform with Automatic Weights. This will add the armature modifier for us with suitable vertex groups for each bone. We can test it by going to pose mode and pose some bones. If we look at the modifiers for the mesh, we can see the new armature modifier, which means we can finalize the configuration by adding a subdivision modifier. Testing it again, we see it still works nicely. I think we can all agree that this is a lot of work, even for just 3 bones. So that's why we are going to automate this with an add-on, starting in the next video. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.